This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Previously on Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
All right, so how about some lifestyle type product here is the Samsung PowerBot Star Wars Edition robotic vacuum cleaner.
Ooh.
Woo! I know you would love this, Taxus.
I love
so it's similar.
Vacuum cleaners.
That is very interesting. I'm not gonna lie. And the purchase price is between $700 and $800. And I saw it. That's not that bad, really, for a good vacuum cleaner. But they have it at Best Buy and Home Depot, and Home Depot seemed to be the cheaper of the two.
Yeah, so. I mean that's not that bad for something like that, but for maybe about $600 less, and some marital decisions, you can have your own children to push around a vacuum. I'm just saying.
A good vacuum, though. Come on.
You're so right, Dennis.
This is Ryder Waldron from Idiot's Array and Coffee with Kenobi blogger, and you are listening to Jay, Dennis, and Taxus on Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Last week, Ken Liu's Legends of Luke Skywalker hit bookstores. With Liu's novel as inspiration, we decided to revisit some Luke Skywalker stories, some that are canon and others that have become legends. We also decided to invite Ryder Waldron, co-host of the Idiot's Array, to join us for this segment. Ryder, welcome to Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I am really excited to be on with you guys tonight. I love your show, and I'm thrilled to be here.
I have one.
Oh, let's hear it.
If you want. Sure. Okay, so this is more of a guessing game than a straight out, okay, Luke did this or whatever. Okay, you ready? The young man is bound, but he's not bound in a submissive sense, but with his hands in front of him.
Well, that's a very creative telling.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it legends or canon?
I have to go fan myself off for a second, Jay.
Ryder?
Coming down with the vapors.
I'm going with canon.
Should be easy, really.
I'm going with canon, but I think Jay should narrate audiobooks from now on.
Hey, all right.
What the heck are you doing?
But I'm just going to give it a shot here and come out swinging.
May the suck be with you.
Whoa.
Vacuum. Sucking.
Oh, okay.
That's my contribution.
Okay, that was very creative. Happy Thanksgiving, Scoundrels. Here's a taste of the cornucopia of content we have on this week's show. If you have no clue what we're going to talk about during this week's news, well, then do we ever have a surprise for you? Hint, you'll be very thankful for the content coming our way. Darth Taxus will tell you where to head on those pilgrimages to find Star Wars celebrities in another edition of Skystalking. We'll gobble up another episode of Rebels when we discuss the mid-season finale and this week's hypothetical. Of course, we're thankful for all of our Scoundrels, and we'll get to your feedback and silence fools. So, Scoundrels, thanks for finding some time between the food, family, friends, and football for us. This is episode 42 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Well, it's our second official Scoundrels Thanksgiving. Last year, Dennis and I said some things that we were thankful for, but this time, Jay, why don't you tell us what you're thankful for?
Well, first off, I'm thankful to be a scoundrel. The third scoundrel. So happy to be on board. But I'm also excited for all the new products that are coming out, fashion and accessory wise. I can't wait to fill my stocking in my tree.
Who can? Dennis, anything else to add to the list?
Well, I'm certainly thankful that we're less than a month away from The Last Jedi, and I'm thankful that we've gotten through another year of this podcast.
You can say that again, brother. I mean, that's great too. I'm really thankful, Jay. Yeah, coming on board, Dennis, another year of this, having a lot of fun, and I'm really thankful for more Star Wars coming up. So exciting. But I'm really, really thankful that I didn't contract that parasite that makes your eyes explode. Imagine how embarrassing that would be.
I really can't.
Like standing in line in the bank and then boom! You can't even look for the Kleenex to give the person in front of you because your eyes exploded. I mean, what an eyesore that scene would be.
I said I really can't.
It sounds like you had a close call.
Yes, I did, Dennis. It reminds me of the harrowing story of the first Sithsgiving.
Sithsgiving. Beware Sith bearing gifts.
Won't you tell us the story?
Oh, I couldn't possibly.
Oh, come on.
I'm not really good at stories, and I think we're running out of time. Okay. Gather around, scoundrels, and hear a classic and inspirational tale. When the Sith first arrived on the system, they were escaping extreme religious persecution from the intolerant Jedi. All they wanted was a place they could celebrate their diversity, to practice dark arts, and enslave local populations to do their will and build great temples honoring them. All they wanted was a place where they could watch their macabre and unholy genetic experiments thrive and run rampant and terrify the townsfolk. But they had a very hard first year and almost didn't survive. However, by Bogan's black bounty, the Sith forefathers had help from the indigenous Indianans, and now we commemorate that dark time with Sithsgiving.
Indianans? Like from Indiana?
Yes! They landed at South Bend. They also founded a little college there.
Notre Dame?
No, Nocta Doom. It started out in a basement, but now it's exclusively online.
Well, that's a surprising history lesson?
I'm more surprised the Sith had forefathers.
Yeah, there were a lot of divorces back then. Bountiful greetings, scoundrels. We hail thee in thine to sup upon yonder podcast, gleaning knowledge of wars amongst the stars. I am that black-hearted and depraved rapscallion, Darth Taxus, normally summoning from ye old historical recreation of Plymouth Rock Room in my flagship, the Assessor Collector. Gathered into the folds of our hosting family are the two who always plant fish in the spring, Elder Dennis, ye old menace of phantoms Keithley, and Goody J, ye old slayer of huts Krebs. Dennis and Jay?
Well, the happiest of Thanksgiving to ye and yours, and I'm glad to be on thy sup table this year. Did that make sense?
Although we ask you to sit in the seats.
Oh, okay. I think I can handle that.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, happy Thanksgiving. I'm glad we could all come together for a Thanksgiving celebration.
Yes, it looks like we have quite the feast and the turnout.
The food looks absolutely delicious. Jay, the Shura fruit pie looks amazing.
Yeah, for
Why,
sure.
thank you. I tried something different after last year's Melaroon fruit experiment. I also brought a Jogan fruit pie this year.
My favorite. A little more traditional and cooked up some mashed potatoes. What is that under the aluminum foil, Taxus? It smells, well, it definitely smells.
Oh, do I have a surprise for you? A delicacy where I come from, and it's an acquired taste. It's
Oh, tell me it isn't deep fried sarlacc.
a surprise for later.
Okay then, well, let's get to the news. Lucasfilm had a few bombshells for us, so let's dive into the news. Chances are you already know what we're going to talk about. So, Jay, take it away.
All right, let's get the big announcement out of the way. Rian Johnson is creating a brand new Star Wars trilogy.
What?
Yeah, we can't say it better than Lucasfilm, so here is the press release. For director Rian Johnson, Star Wars The Last Jedi was just the beginning of his journey in a galaxy far, far away. Lucasfilm is excited to announce that Johnson will create a brand new Star Wars trilogy, the first of which he is also set to write and direct, with longtime collaborator Ram Bergman on board to produce. As writer-director of The Last Jedi, Johnson conceived and realized a powerful film of which Lucasfilm and Disney are immensely proud. In shepherding this new trilogy, which is separate from the episodic Skywalker saga, Johnson will introduce new characters from a corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never before explored. Quote, "We all loved working with Rian on The Last Jedi," unquote, said Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. Quote, "He is a creative force, and watching him craft The Last Jedi from start to finish was one of the great joys of my career. Rian will do amazing things with the blank canvas of this new trilogy. We had the time of our lives collaborating with Lucasfilm and Disney on The Last Jedi," Johnson and Bergman said in a joint statement. Star Wars is the greatest modern mythology, and we feel very lucky to have contributed to it. We can't wait to continue with this new series of films. Johnson's upcoming Star Wars The Last Jedi arrives in U.S. theaters on December 15th, 2017. No release dates have been set for the new films, and no porgs were available for comment.
Woo! There's a lot
But we're waiting in the
discuss here.
wings in case you want to ask us any last minute questions.
Don't make me get my bow. Okay. So, first off, there's not much that we can say about this. It probably hasn't been said a dozen times other places, but
Chocolate.
let's get it out of the way. First off, how amazing must Last Jedi be if they're already giving this guy another trilogy to start?
Yeah, absolutely. And for Kathleen Kennedy to say that it is one of the great joys of her career, I mean, that's huge praise.
Yeah. She worked with Lucas and Spielberg and, Jurassic Park and all kinds of wonderful movies out there. So this is high praise.
Yeah.
I remember when this announcement came out, middle of a week and a half ago, and I saw it as Andy Gutierrez on the Star Wars show did a special about that, and I was like, just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
This
I
is
know
amazing.
you have to pinch yourself almost, because I know, when I first saw the news, I was like, wait, what? Really? Whoa, no way.
Well, and I guess the other thing that surprised me is that we've all been waiting for the announcement of the new Kenobi film. There's been those rumors, but there's been no official announcement of it yet. This was announced. I get the feeling that they realized that they had to get this news out there because Bob Iger was going to talk about it during the investor call he did for shareholders of Disney. And so they wanted to have an official press release. I'm not sure that they were actually ready to talk about it quite yet, but there it is. So wow. But they brought this up and not the next standalone, which is, I would have assumed, what was coming next after episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is amazing. This is what they needed to do. This is something that we've all been asking them to do. Mm-hmm. We've often talked about how they're compressing so much into this little time capsule of nostalgia for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand there's stories to be told there, and I'm not begrudging that. But at some point, the galaxy needs to get bigger. The stories need to move beyond the time period, beyond the characters, and I think that this is exciting. This is so much fun, and beyond that, I have to say, Mike Harris, Sky Mauler, one of our Retro Zappers, does some wonderful reviews and writing on RetroZap.com. He tweeted us, did they find their new George Lucas? And I think they have.
I've been hearing that too, that comparison.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's possibly. But J.J. Abrams is also getting a second film too, and he kicked off the this current trilogy that we got now, and who's to say he won't be back for additional films? A couple things. Let's address some of the points of this press release first. Taxus, you were just alluding to it. It's that this is going to be a new trilogy, which is separate from the episodic Skywalker. So no Luke, Leia, Rey if she's a Skywalker, no Kylo, none of that. Mm-hmm. And it's in a new corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never before explored.
No Tatooine. Just saying.
They kind of haven't been there since Return of the Jedi. But anyway, chronologically speaking, so what are you all looking for? What are you all hoping for? What do you think that means? I mean, keeping in mind that it's not the Skywalker saga and it's a corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never before explored. How about you, Jay?
I mean, that really opens up the door to literally endless possibilities, really. I mean, we've already got such a basis for knowledge of what we do know about the galaxy, Skywalker's aside. So, I'm really excited because as much as I love the Skywalker bloodline and everything else, like you said, we almost have the small galaxy syndrome, as we've said before. And so it will be nice to branch out and basically see what else is out there. So I'm really welcoming it. I think it'll be a very exciting time. And it will also, I think, continue to bring more and more fans into the fold. New generations of Star Wars fans and kids and, who knows? I mean, it's pretty exciting.
Wow.
How about you, Taxus?
Wow.
What are you looking for here out of this?
Well, while you were saying that, Jay, I got hit with images from the Force. Just visions of the future of me sitting in a movie theater, and the opening crawl finishes, because there has to be an opening crawl no matter what. I'm sorry. and then I leave the movie theater, and all I did is just saw a repurposed version of Avatar. That's...
Oh, no.
No, in all seriousness, though, I mean, the galaxy is deep and wide, I mean, it's a big place. I mean, I'm glad that they specifically said within the galaxy, because I don't want them to go to another galaxy or something like that. I want it to be, in the neighborhood, so to speak. I don't know. They could make this like completely alien driven. That's the reason why I was thinking of Avatar, instead of being humanoids. What if the entire story is focusing around an alien character, who's the hero or whatever. The Force, obviously, I think is going to have to come into play, because Maxi Big is the Force, and it's just the way that they... I don't know. There's just so much. I'm just bubbling. My Star Wars pants are going so crazy right now. I'm just...
Yeah, a couple things there that you touched on. One, the Force. I'm hoping that we get some of our familiar touchstones to Star Wars, because otherwise it doesn't even need to be a Star Wars movie, right?
Right.
There's a danger to not going with something like the Empire or the First Order or Separatists in the Old Republic or the New Republic or
oppression.
Because you then lose some of the things that make Star Wars Star Wars. It's starships and droids and the hero's journey and lightsabers and the Force and all those type of elements. You don't have to have all of them. No. But I'm hoping that there is some sort of a clear connection between our traditional saga films and these new Star Wars story films and whatever this new trilogy is. While I'm looking forward to seeing something new and unexpected, again, one of the issues that we've had with The Force Awakens and then Rogue One was the absence of so many of our familiar aliens that we're used to seeing.
Yes.
And so but you can get over that when you have stormtroopers and you have the occasional lightsaber and the other familiar elements to the film. So whatever the story is, I'm hoping that we keep enough of those familiar touchstones that, so it truly makes it a Star Wars movie and just not some other science fiction film or space opera that just happens to be set in the same Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah. And that's what I meant by having, that basis, that foundation, that we've established all of this over 40 years, that there's going to have to be some common elements presented or some familiar elements, as you said, because that just makes sense. Like you said, it's not Star Wars without some sort of the Force, whether it be called Ashla, or whatever. But isn't this a great time to be a Star Wars fan? We get all this fun new stuff to look forward to.
Well, especially considering that there's been this open question. Well, we know we get we've got Last Jedi coming up in December. Han Solo, I guess Solo, a Star Wars story is what they're calling it now, in May of next year. Then we get, the rest of 2018 and most of 2019 off. And at the end of 2019, we get Episode 9. Well, everyone wants to know what's after that. And we've been expecting this announcement again of that Kenobi movie that was rumored months ago at this point, and nothing else has been said about it. And we've kind of been teased that Kathleen Kennedy was just on the Star Wars show. Was it last week, saying that they were just sitting down talking about what the next 10 years of Star Wars stories are going to look like? And she specifically mentioned Rey, Poe, and Finn when she was talking in that interview on the Star Wars show. This came way out of left field, but it's exciting. It really is exciting. It's don't get me wrong. I love all of our traditional Star Wars characters, and I'm a big fan of all the movies. But there is something a bit of anxiety that comes with wondering, during any one of these films in the current saga, well, are any of our favorites going to die? And just, not having that, just having something that brand new with new characters where we don't necessarily have that connection. We get to build, relationships with those characters and do something fresh and brand new. It's pretty exciting.
Oh, I'm extremely excited.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about one last thing on this, and then we'll move on to the next big story because we're going to have plenty to unpack there too. But, this detail, he's going to be establishing this new trilogy, but he's only writing and directing the first one with his longtime collaborator, Ram Bergman. So, you made that comment, Taxus, about him, Rian Johnson being the new George Lucas, because that's what happened with the original trilogy. Lucas directed the first one, then he kind of provided the story for the next two, but he turned over the writing and directing duties to somebody else. Do you think this is a situation where he really only wants to write and direct the first one, or is it kind of, let's see how this goes, and maybe he'll also want to work on some other projects while the next two movies are getting created?
Let me ask you this. Do you ever want to just take one bite of pizza?
We've had this conversation before.
I don't know. I mean, how would you not feel somewhat honored if they said, hey, we trust you implicitly to guide this into the new generation, I'm not a director. I've only played one on TV in my mind. And I've never, so I don't know, but so, I mean, he's done Looper, he's done Brick. I know he had a lot of acclaim with some Breaking Bad episodes. But by and large, he really doesn't have a huge claim to fame as far as, some director credits like JJ would, for example. So I don't know, if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll be the Star Wars dude,
Well, and he's a huge fan. I mean, that's one thing that they've said over and over and over again, is that this is, for him, it's almost like his own personal pilgrimage, which goes with our theme this evening. But it's his way. It's his baby. I mean, this is his homage to the history and the lore. And everyone that's come on board, though, I mean, and Kathleen Kennedy herself, have been huge Star Wars fans their whole lives.
Oh yeah.
So so whether Rian Johnson ends up writing and directing all of them, or just has a part in it, where he's guiding others, I mean, you're going to have to pass the baton at some point, regardless.
Of course.
So I guess I just trust the process.
Yeah. And one last comment on this, so we'll move on to our next story, but I guess we know why he turned down episode 9.
Yes.
I guess.
We now know what that other project is. All right.
Yeah.
Taxus, why don't you get us into our next news item?
Oh, there's more news? Oh, yeah, there is. As if the announcement of a new trilogy wasn't enough, Lucasfilm also announced a new live-action television series that would be coming to its yet-to-be-launched streaming service in 2019. And I might quote Jeff McGee, who is a host on the Geek Supreme on Assembly Geeks Network. Thank you, Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be fair, this was a suggestion as soon as we heard that Disney was going to create their own live streaming app.
Yes.
I don't think anyone is surprised that there's going to be a live action Star Wars, but it's nice to have that official confirmation. This news came out right after the movie, all the trilogy news, but with not nearly as much fanfare. It doesn't have its own entry on StarWars.com right now. I think Variety or Vanity Fair, one of those sources, was the first to report it.
Glamour.
But this is where we can really speculate, because it doesn't have those caveats about it being from not connected with the Skywalker saga and a previously unexplored section of space or lore or anything like that. So this could be anything. And then I guess one other caveat is that, what's Dave Filoni doing after Rebels?
Yeah.
Is he going to be attached to this? We don't have an announcement about a new animated series yet for Star Wars. And, I could see them maybe wanting to hold back on that until Rebels is done, not to steal its thunder. But, we've just kind of been waiting to hear what's coming up next. So I guess, Taxus, you gave us pretty much all the details we have. With that said, what do you all want to see in a live action show? What time period? What type of characters? And what's on your wish list? Jay, what would you like to see?
Well, a live action show has been something that's just been on my wish list in general for so long. And for it to finally be coming to fruition is almost like, I'm a kid in the candy store. Ooh, what can we do? What can we do? So it's really hard to pinpoint what I would want to see or what I would like to see. We've talked about Old Republic things before and bringing that to light. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, it'll be really interesting. So I'm assuming though that this is going to be something very similar to what Stranger Things is for Netflix, where it will be, the whole series will be able to be streamed. You can binge it once. How many episodes we're going to get per season, we don't know. There's so many things out there that are what ifs, but at this point, I think just anything. I'm just happy to be alive right now with Star Wars news. So, anything they give me, I'm going to gobble up.
Yeah, if this is going to be a bingeable thing, then you better bring the 2-gallon milk jugs and bring me some damp sponges because I'm watching the whole thing. And it's, yeah. I don't know. They could go all over the place with this. I personally would like to see Shmi the Wild Years. But beyond that, why not do it focused around a villain? Why not do Darth Bane, like we've discussed before? It's such a great character, great story, far enough away from the current goings-on that you're not going to step on anyone's toes, But beyond that, you could do what I remember it was kicking around a while back before, and I think this is kind of what became Rebels. I remember they were discussing a live action television series like years ago, and they wanted to make it focused around a group of rebels, You could do that, but, a little too close, a little too soon after the other series, right? Mr. Filoni, we really appreciate your submission, but we're not going to do a series about wolves in the Star Wars wild called Wolves in Star Wars.
Okay, I have a couple items here. One, they have like 50 scripts for a Star Wars Underworld show that was in production at one time back from the 90s, and the problem there was that the budget ended up having to be something like $1 million an episode, and the hope was
$1 million?
to release. Well, in the 90s, today, it was considerably, that was a big deal.
Right.
And the idea was that they couldn't do that. Now, with Star Trek Discovery, they have a huge budget for each one of those episodes. And in fact, their first season will be ending early February. And then it's likely their second season won't be airing until sometime in 2019 because it takes about 3 months to put together a single episode of that show, is what I was reading the other day. Item number 2. I would not count on seeing all these episodes getting released at one time a la Netflix. I would not be surprised if it was like Discovery, where it's still a streaming service, but it's one episode per week. At least on Sunday night. Why? Because Bob Iger's also announced that this service is going to be substantially less expensive than Netflix because they don't have as big a library. So I could see them not necessarily want to give away a free month, introductory month, and have everyone binge their Star Wars show, then cancel.
True.
So if I had a wish list on this, I would not mind seeing them do something like they've done with the Marvel series on Netflix with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the Defenders. Give us smaller seasons of a particular character or group of characters, 10 to 13 episodes, and then eventually give them the opportunity to tie those series together by combining some characters or splitting them off at different times or something like that. You don't have that way. You wouldn't necessarily just have one series in production. Now, granted, it's cheaper to produce Daredevil than it is Star Wars. A lot less lightsabers and blasters in Daredevil. But I guess my other preference would be as cool as it would be to get an Old Republic or Darth Bane series, I'm not sure that's going to fit in with the tone of a Disney streaming service because they're also doing a Monsters U series. And, I think PG-13 is the upper limit. The low end of PG-13 is the upper limit of what they're going to be able to do for the content there. And I'm not sure that's how we want our Darth Bane served up to us in live action.
That's a good thought. And you know what? I just actually, while you were talking too, both of you guys, I had another thought. When as far as like what would be good content for this Disney service, and you bring up some excellent points, of course, both of you guys. But I think it'd be fun to see something like a certain point of view stories come to life. That would be kind of fun, or bringing back some of the stories that were maybe branching out from some of the arcs from the Clone Wars that maybe we had unanswered questions to that could tie back in. So, you're coming full circle with a lot of these other things. That might be fun too.
I would also mind it if there was some sort of connection between these series and Rian Johnson's new project. I don't think that's what they'll do. One of the things that I appreciate about, for instance, the Dr. Aphra comic is that we have all these brand new characters. And so you're permitted to have a certain amount of suspense in that book because, the comics that take place between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, you're never, ever afraid for Luke, Han, and Leia because we all know they're going to pull through that and show up in The Empire Strikes Back, which gave a bit of added drama to The Force Awakens because, hey, we had no guarantee that Han was going to survive then. Right. Spoiler. But anyway, so I'm kind of hoping that we do. Well, I don't mind the mixing in some traditional characters. I would prefer to see a lot of new stuff that comes with the new series.
Well, and you know what? If they did it to where it was bingeable, I personally would stick around for the next month just so I could watch Pollyanna every day.
Okay, then. Well, why don't we wrap it up with some other quick-fire news items here? Few things. First, images from the upcoming Marvel comic adaptation of the Thrawn novel can be found on StarWars.com. The preview features scenes from the earlier portions of the novel where Thrawn is found stranded on a remote world. So, have you guys had an opportunity to see these images yet?
Chicka pow wow. What did you say, Taxus? That he looked like?
He's Thrawnio instead of Fabio. It's like, I saw his eyes dart down to my guns and my rippled chest. I know I've been working out.
Oh, my. Okay. Well, I don't remember thinking of Thrawn that way when I read the book.
Right.
No.
Obviously, I could see the tattered clothes and things like that, but the long black hair, that is a very different look for not just Thrawn, but really any Chiss.
Well, yeah, but I kind of like how they challenged us. I really, when I read that part in the book, I thought of Thrawn running around in his white uniform. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
with the close cropped hair.
Just kind of tattered, right?
Right, but he's been out there by himself, and
it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
but it was just kind of a oh yeah, you're right type of moment. Right. I hadn't thought of it that way before.
Well, thinking back to the trilogy myself, I remember. I'm not sure at what point this happened, but I do remember developing a little bit of a crush on Thrawn. So
really.
Now it's reignited that fire. Oh yeah.
All righty then.
We'll leave it at that.
I knew exactly what kind of wine you wanted.
All right, so up next, as previously reported, the Star Tours, the Adventures Continue rides at the Disney parks here in the United States are getting their crate updates on November 17th. Great. So that those will be available when this episode comes out. The Disney Parks blog has a preview of the attraction. They also tease that there might be another destination coming as well. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, the preview image is the ski speeders charging across the salt flats on Crate, and then the little Star Tours transportation vehicles kind of flying through from above. So I'm very intrigued what the other scene's going to be that's coming from The Last Jedi, but they're keeping that one under wraps. Another story, the new IMAX poster for The Last Jedi has been released. You can check that on StarWars.com. It's cool, but I think it largely features the same imagery we've seen from the official poster. So, but check that out.
They have Max on iPhone now?
Right. Finally, Battlefront 2 has arrived. The eagerly awaited action game is finally available on home consoles. So, you guys picked that up yet? Or are you picking it up, or what are you doing?
Well, my son has it on pre-order, my 15-year-old, and he got to play the beta. And a friend of his, I'm not sure exactly how this whole thing works, but he got to start playing it last night somehow on PlayStation. My son has an Xbox, but my son has been literally counting down the days, and he's been watching all this like gameplay and all these things happening. And of course, there was a little bit of a stink about some playable things going on where you had to put in so many hours to get some of the iconic characters, and and EA games kind of well, I'm telling you, it was getting bad. I guess some of the game makers were getting actual death threats from, you shouldn't have to put in that much time to get it, put in 40 hours, that's a whole work week. But I think to myself, how much are you going to be playing this game anyway? But I guess I can see arguments on both sides. It's a prestige character. You should work for it, but yet you've already paid the money. So
okay. Ready? Look, okay. I survived World of Warcraft. I'm just saying. Okay.
Warcraft.
Yes. And there's the grind in there. So, and they do that for a purpose. Now, I was fortunate enough to have children young enough who would stay home during the day, and I taught them how to farm for me. So basically, I was able to advance. Yeah. What else have children for, right?
Absolutely.
But as far as Battlefront 2 goes, I have addiction issues.
Oh.
I'm going to steer clear. I'm going to steer clear of this because
I'm just really excited to see some of the gameplay with Iden Versio and some of the. I've been seeing some of the updated, graphics from Battlefront 2 versus Battlefront, the first one. But
it's super cool.
Issues.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I would play the heck out of it, but man, I ain't got no time, babes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I'll be watching more so than playing. When I play, it's a disaster.
I would love to see that, Jay. And I think the Scoundrels would as well. Just saying.
It would be quite entertaining because I laugh like crazy throughout the whole thing myself, and it's insane.
I think we need some video of you tandem, with your son there. That'd be great.
Oh, man. We might have to do that. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
All right. Well, there's a tease for a future episode. Okay. Well, Scoundrels, that's going to do it for this week's news. For more on these stories and others, we recommend such websites as RetroZap, Jedi News, Fantha Tracks, TheForce.net, and Coffee with Kenobi. Oh, hey, I'll get this one. Oh, it's you, Kylo. Well, I guess you should come on in. You can head on to the kitchen and grab a plate. There's food for everyone.
I can take whatever I want.
No, we aren't going to go through this again. We covered this at Halloween. Leave some for everyone, and not everyone is here yet. Oh, and there's your dad. I know you two don't always get along, but try not to make a scene. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, Skystalking.
I feel like we're being watched.
I am wondering, why are you here?
I'm looking for someone.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say.
Okay, Scoundrels, Darth Taxus is back to let us know where we can find all the Star Wars celebrities next month in this edition of Skystalking. Taxus, take it away.
Thank you, Dennis. December is getting cold and stars are going into their caves to hibernate until, the convention season. So let's start off with New York WinterCon, December 1st through 3rd in Jamaica, New York.
Jamaica? There's a Jamaica, New York?
Yes, there is. It's right.
Sounds like an oxymoron to me.
I know, it's right next to the Bahamas, New York. First off, we got Kevin Thompson. He was in Return of the Jedi as an Ewok. I don't know which one yet, but he was an Ewok. And after that, we've got Felix Silla there. He was also an Ewok in Return of the Jedi. Julian Glover played General Veers, and ho, look at this. Caroline Blackiston.
Ooh.
Return of the Jedi, Mon Mothma. Okay,
Whoa.
I gotta say, that's a new one on my scopes. I have not seen that at all, forever.
Ever.
Yes, you know, and I'm an expert. Okay, so, you know, maybe if after you get all that, you can jet on over to Tokyo Comic Con. December 1st through 3rd as well in Tokyo, some place called Japan. I don't know. Mads Mikkelsen, who was in the movie we all love called One as Galen Urso. Next up, we got Steel City Con. Guess where that's at?
Close to Pittsburgh.
It's Monroeville, Pennsylvania, in December 8th through 10th.
Not too far from me.
Well, Jay, maybe you need to be our emissary, because Brent Spiner, who also did a voice on Rebels, and Daniel Logan.
Oh, he's my buddy. I love Daniel Logan.
Okay, you need to go out there and make a special pilgrimage for us. You know,
I have to see what's going on.
Get some sound bites or something. I don't know, just saying that.
Yeah, ooh, yeah.
All right. Ace Comic Con is after that, or actually on that same weekend, December 8th through 10th in Uniondale, New York. Did you know there was a Uniondale there?
No.
It's not as exotic as Jamaica.
No, it's not. It's also next to Teamsterdale. Ed McGuinness, Star Wars comics artist. Dexter Vines, another Star Wars comics artist. Chris Uminga is a Star Wars artist. Paul Mounts, Star Wars comics with Dark Horse. Robert Bruno is a poster artist. He's got some great stuff. Then we got a couple of Star Wars card artists, Aaron Lambert and Brian Kong, who's the king of Star Wars card art. And that's it.
Okay, Scoundrels. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Skystalking. If you happen to meet any of these celebrities, we'd love to hear about it. Send us an email to sqpod@retrozap.com.
I'm by the door. I got it. Hello?
You may dispense with the pleasantries, Commander. I'm here to put you back on schedule.
Wait, what? Commander, what schedule? We're just having Thanksgiving dinner.
The Emperor is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
Progress? What progress? I told you this is just dinner.
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly?
Well, now that you mention it, yeah. Everyone was supposed to bring a dish, but I see you came empty-handed.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Look, whatever. I've got a lot to do, so just come on in and grab a plate and... Wait, can you even eat without taking off your helmet? This might not be pleasant. You know what? Never mind. Happy Thanksgiving, Lord Vader. Oh, your son-in-law and grandson are here.
Sir, we're detecting several craft coming out of hyperspace.
All right, let's make this count. Lothal's depending on us. Remember, the Imperial Fuel Depot is our primary target.
Presuming we get past this blockade.
They might have numbers, but we've got skill.
That last part goes double for me.
Yes, Chopper, triple for you. Lock S-foils in attack position. Fighter group, stay with your wingmen and punch a hole in their defenses. We have to get the Y-wings through.
So the rebels have come at last.
It's time for our hypothetical, and this week we are discussing the mid-season finale of Rebels, Rebel Assault. So now's the time, Taxus. Sound the spoiler alarm, because this is a full spoiler discussion of the episode. Jay, if you could give us the episode summary.
Yes, lots of exciting stuff happening. All right, the time for the attack on Lothal has come. Hera leads Phoenix Squadron, which is now boasting a flight of X-Wings as they attempt to break the blockade around the planet. Ezra, Kanan, Sabine, and Zeb coordinate the attack on the ground and sabotage the ground defenses. Hera's attack is successful, and they penetrate Thrawn's defenses around Lothal. However, Phoenix Squadron is overwhelmed by ties as they enter Lothal's atmosphere. Kanan, Ezra, and the others can only look on in disbelief as Phoenix Squad crashes. Fortunately, Hera and another pilot, Mart, survive. They successfully evade Rukh and the Empire in the streets of Lothal for a time, until they are finally cornered. Kanan can't leave Hera behind, and he returns to the city to save her. Before he can do so, he encounters a Loth Wolf and has an epiphany. In the end, Hera gives herself up so that Chopper and Mark can escape. As the episode ends, Kanan contemplates what he will do next.
So, yeah, quite the mid-season finale. Let's go around the table real quick, and you can all give your quick 60-second or less initial reactions to the episode. Jay?
So many feels, obviously. I mean, just seeing the X-Wings come to life for the first time in Rebels was amazing. And, wow, what a fighter Hera is, both, in her X-Wing and hand-to-hand against Rugh. I mean, she held her own, man. And you got to give props to Chopper, too. But, we've got the Loth Wolves coming back to speak to Kanan again. And, there's just so much going on in this. So, great episode.
Texas?
Well, okay, so I really enjoyed this episode from the action standpoint. I'm just gonna say, okay? I don't know, this might be getting to the end too quick, but having an accident on the road with a very large canine kind of really made me kind of freak out. So, because that happened a long time ago. It was so sad.
Aww.
Yeah, it was really bad. But also, I would note that Mart was a topic of discussion on our last Thanksgiving episode, Dennis. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, it's weird how that stuff happens, isn't it? I remember last episode we were talking, or the last special we had where we were discussing Rebels. I said, does it seem like, I don't know, kind of went, I mean, he was like too awesome for a, I don't know, Jedi, And then Hera in this episode, I mean, she's like going to town. She's like Bruce Lee, and she didn't know him. She didn't know who he was. She didn't get like any advanced, if I remember correctly, warning of what he was or what he could do. So that really kind of made me kind of question, like, okay, what's the parody here? You know what I mean? Because a Jedi is supposed to be able to see everything that's happening right before. That's why they have excellent combat skills, right? Supposedly. So, I mean, I really enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the flow of the episode. I questioned why it took so long for the Empire to kind of track down some of the crashed ships. I also questioned, man, really? They got, totally sidelined by all those, TIE fighters like they did? I mean, come on, pick up your visual scanning, But all in all, I had fun with it.
Quite a long initial reaction. Okay.
Sorry, I had a lot to get out.
Lot to unpack there.
Pent up there.
Well, let's feel better. We'll start with the beginning and the initial attack sequence on the blockade around Lothal by Phoenix Squadron. Mm-hmm. Okay, my first initial criticism of this episode: where did these X-Wings come from? I don't have to have a detailed backstory for every element of the show, but if we look back on Rebels, does anyone remember the B-Wing?
Yes.
That Hera test piloted, and they spent an entire episode recruiting that engineer,
right? Because
he could make this B-Wing, and it hasn't shown up since. The X-Wings have not appeared at all in Rebels, but they just show up in this episode without a bit of explanation where they came from.
Yeah.
And this is their superiority fighter.
Yeah.
I found that slightly irksome. But that being said, it was really cool seeing Hera in an X-Wing, especially with Chopper as her astromech in the X-Wing. I never considered that. When we saw the trailer for this season of Rebels, I remember being excited by seeing those X-Wings, and I knew Hera was going to be in one, but I never thought that Chopper might be the astromech in there. And there's just something awesome about that.
Yeah.
That, our old, grumpy droid is in, helping her fly this. I mean, who else would it be, I guess? Right. But still, that was fantastic.
Well, you know where you get X-Wings from, right, Dennis?
I'm sure you're going to fill me in.
They're left under your tree in Xmas. Yeah, it was awesome. That opening scene, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there were so many great, awesome moments that even the little, annoying things that kind of made me go, I can mitigate somewhat. But I thought that opening dogfight with Hera and his name's escaping me right now, but he's the twirling mustache guy.
Scarus?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. that was really cool, and I love how, again, Thrawn's like, break off your attack, and he's like, no, I got this. And Thrawn's like, would people did I not go to general school for 4 years to get my general degree or admiral degree now? It's like, why are you not listening to me? And of course, he doesn't. And what happens? Everything goes to pot,
Right. The one thing I'd say about that scene that I found slightly irksome is that it's like, okay, if he's not going to listen to me, then he deserves to get what I'm going to give him, which is I'm going to shoot his ship too. It's out of the Darth Vader playbook, where when the underlings are being incompetent, then they deserve to die. I get it. That's just been a motif with the Empire since, the original Star Wars, A New Hope. But it just seems so ham-fisted. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if he deserved to die per se. I mean, I don't know if that was the thinking, but just like, I gave you an order, and as the subordinate, you should obey the order. And if you don't,
then court-martial him when he gets back. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but he's got to open fire. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah. It's just In
Defense of Thrawn, a new novel by Taxus.
Right, but if that is the way the sequence, there was no choice but to have that sequence go that way. But did they have to write it that way? I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
We've had last season when the Empire surrounded Chopper Base, and they were taking that over. Which one of the admirals was it that pulled his tie or the interdictor out of formation? And it's just kind of a, what is it with these Imperial officers either not obeying directions or performing so poorly they have to be killed? It just seems like a bit of a trope, is I guess is what I'm saying.
But they don't respect aliens, remember? So it kind of fit into other things that we might have read. Jay?
Not yet. Not completely. I'm getting there.
That's okay. We still love you. It's okay. Okay.
Well, let's shift gears here and get to Rook. Taxus, you brought up an interesting point that maybe Hera did better against him than Ezra did. What did we think about Rook's appearance in this episode, Jay?
Well, I was glad to see him again because, after last time there was some, thought, oh, is this just an introduction? Are we going to be left with this one episode or what? So, it was nice to see him come back around again. But, I think that it's almost like ignorance is bliss for Hera, not really knowing who he was or what he was supposed to be capable of, so that she didn't really have any expectation. So she just kind of went, whole hog and didn't leave anything behind.
Certainly.
But yeah, he was told not to kill anyone. So Thrawn wanted the prisoners alive. So, he obviously was probably holding back just a little bit.
I really liked the way he was used in this episode because he took advantage of his terrain. He kept going up to the rooftops to stalk them, to stalk Hera and Mart as they were trying to get out of the city. When the tables would get turned on him, he'd retreat and he'd go back up to the roof. And then, wait, bide his time and then attack again. When we reviewed last week's episodes, I was critical of that first episode, and I scored it low because I was concerned that was just kind of how he was going to be used and that was going to be it. But it was great to see them just establish him. He really came off as a hunter in this episode.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Inquisitors. In
a way, yeah.
It's got that same feeling. It's just on a different level. This thing is a hunter. It's a tracker, and I shouldn't say thing because it's a fake being too, and I respect fake beings' feelings like that. So, but yeah, Dennis, you're right. He would, just fade off, and then while they're running. It's sort of like Daredevil, season 2, where you're running through the city streets and things are, ninja are running on the rooftops. And I kind of like how I liked how he really took an aggressive posture. He's grown. He grew. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's a rebel. He's a soldier, and he knows how to take orders, unlike other people, in the Empire. And yeah, I thought I turned, I had a 180. if I can stammer some more about Mark, on how I felt about his character last year. It's a Thanksgiving miracle, I might say. I mean, I was really invested in him as a character in this episode. And they also did, I don't know if it was the same voice actor or it was the same, I don't know. He sounded older. He sounded more mature. Of course, they drew him a little differently, he grew, yeah. So I'm kind of a Martite.
Yeah, he definitely grew up. In fact, I wasn't certain that was him at first until I heard his name the second or third time in the episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about Hera. It was absolutely wonderful to see her get as much screen time as she did this episode. A lot of episodes last season and this season she's been more of a side character, but she had an opportunity to take center stage. And did I hear things correctly? I thought I heard her both addressed as Captain Syndulla, and did she get called General here?
She did. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I caught that.
So wow, she got another promotion. Good for her. But the attack on the blockade, she was amazing. And then as she was attempting to escape through the city in Lothal, that battle she had with Rook, she ultimately lost. He subdued her, but I mean, you would kind of expect that. That's what he does. He's a hunter, but she had some moves. She really held her own there for a while. I was very impressed with that. I can't remember a time where we got to see her do that type of hand-to-hand combat. Usually if she's fighting, it's with a blaster if she's not in space.
Yeah. You know what? This is going to be a hot space opinion, but that was possibly one of the best combat sequences that we've seen in this series. Yes. Especially when she swings up and basically does the whole chicken leg move on his shoulders and kind of chokes him out.
That was like so Black Widow.
Oh my gosh. That was like kung fu. It was so kung fu-y and stuff. And you got to think about this. She's grown up a child of war.
Right.
And she's probably been training like this her whole life. And, it's always the quiet ones that you watch out for, right? It's always the ones that aren't talking, that aren't doing the big action and everything. And she ends up being one of the most, kick butt of them all. I'm just saying it was really amazing. And I love that aspect. And by the way, we need Hera in X-Wing fighter outfit Black Series, please.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
That was a great costume.
Mm-hmm.
I sense another saber clash coming on.
Maybe.
Well, one thing too, we have to remember who her dad is. So, hello, freedom fighter. So I'm sure she was brought up being able to defend herself very well and being taught some hand-to-hand combat as well. Not just, how to pilot. Of course, that's where she feels most comfortable. But, I do believe that she's obviously had some background.
She's Black Ops.
Yeah, one last point on Hera, and then we'll move on to another topic here. But on the Rebels Recon, I don't know if you've all had a chance to see that. They asked Pablo and Dave Filoni, and I can't remember who all else, who's the better pilot, Hera or Poe Dameron?
Yes.
And Dave was non-committal, but everyone else was like, it's Hera. Which,
oh wow.
Yes.
The point that they made is that Hera learned how to fly the Ghost, a freighter, like a fighter, and she can do that, which not just anybody could do. Now, I suspect there's a certain amount of bias from the people that they asked.
Because they are rebels, right?
Yeah, associations with rebels, but that speaks volumes about her skill.
Yeah, but Poe can fly anything.
Well, that's true. He can, and he's had opportunity.
So he says.
Okay, let's get to the last topic here with Rebels and talk about the wolves. Hera, this whole episode ends on the cliffhanger. What's going to happen to Hera because she's been captured by the Empire, and Kanan is heading back to the city, and he's flying down the highway on his speeder bike, and he sees something in the distance, and then you see him look forward, and he sees something in the distance, and then he realizes it's the wolf, and he comes to that screeching halt. And the wolf says his same line that he keeps saying, doom, over again. And then Kanan says, I understand you. And it changes his entire plan on what to do here. this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I'm getting tired of these wolves. I'm sorry. The largest reason being is that I feel like they're taking the fate and the destiny of the crew of the Ghost out of their own hands. A couple episodes ago, it was Ezra and Sabine unable to get away from the Empire until the wolf showed up, made Sabine fall asleep. They got on the wolf's back, and then they rode the wolf to safety. Then it was the Empire trapped them in the mountains on Lothal, and the only reason they got away is because the wolf showed up, guided into a cavern, and then did some sort of a hyperspace walk through the cavern to the other hemisphere on the planet. And now they've interceded again with Kanan, basically telling him, nope, this is not what you're going to do. So I don't know. I just kind of feel like this is a crew that's got all these skills and have banded together. They've been able to count on each other and rescue each other, and they've been able to handle themselves. But now we're at 3 instances where the wolves have basically decided you're not capable of doing it, and they're the ones that have had to step up and rescue them.
Well, part of me thinks, though, that there's just got to be some kind of a connection back to, we haven't seen the Bendu for a while. So there's got to be some sort of force connection there. And, I guess I keep just feeling like all will become clear in time. We just have to be patient. But, I can see your point. They just keep saying doom. We get nothing else. And, I understand you. Okay, well, great, Kanan. Glad you do, because the rest of us are lost.
What's that? Ezra fell down the well? What's that, boy? Yeah. Woof, woof. Doom.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I can definitely see your point, but I'm just along for the ride. You know me, I'm a sucker for these wolves. So I guess we just have to trust the process.
I don't know. I kind of feel like you, Dennis, where it's like, okay, ready for my close-up, and here's the wolf eyes again. What are we supposed to be seeing with this? And what did he tell Kanan? And what's Kanan going to do? I have a feeling it's not good for Kanan. I have a feeling it's going to be something that sacrifices himself. I have a feeling that it's not his last name, that it's his doom, so to speak. I don't know.
I guess I would agree with you, except for every episode of Rebels Recon, when they've covered this wolf and they've had the subtitles down there, they've always spelled it D-U-M-E.
Right.
And Kanan got it.
False flag.
Okay. And Kanan got it, last week when he said, Doom, what's that? When Ezra asked him, what's that mean? He goes, well, that's me. That's my birth name. And so it's possible. My guess is, and I'm reluctant to speculate, but I'm going to, I think Kanan and Ezra's fates are going to be something similar to Ahsoka's, and we're not really going to know what happened to them at the end of the day. Which I think is slightly aggravating. I mean, how many former Jedi, wannabe Jedi, are going to have to keep track of wandering around out there, with unclear fates. So,
which, by the way, until we heard the wolf say that, and Kanan, attest that was the way you pronounce his name, I've been saying dummy.
Dummy. Well, okay, here's the thought. Yeah, go ahead. What?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, here's a thought. Maybe they're leaving all of these loose ends because this is what we're going to see in the live action TV series.
Can't we have a series we contain within themselves?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Dennis.
Okay, well,
but unless like we talked about,
advocate.
Unless like I mentioned in the past that, or our last episode special, what if the series is in the past and it provides us some insight to all these mysteries we're seeing now? Then that would be kind of cool to me. Yeah,
that's a way long game, though. I feel like anyone who's watching these shows, especially kids, this might be their introduction, shouldn't have to get into all these other things to understand what it is they're watching. It's not Lost. I mean, come on. It's
still not happy about that ending.
A lot of people aren't, but I don't know. I don't mind having some things up for debate and things for mystery. It just feels like that's compounding constantly. If you just look at the season finales that we had, season 2, what happened to Ahsoka? Season 3, what happened to the Bendu? And now here we are in season 4, and it's likely to be what happened to Kanan and Ezra. So anyways, it's just, That's just my gripe. All right. Well, we're running out of time on this. So, as is our custom, why don't we go around the table here and give our final thoughts and grades? Jay?
Well, being the mid-season finale, it's going to give us some cliffhangers. Of course, we know that Hera has been captured, and Caleb almost hit a dog in the road, and don't know where that's going. But, it was a good episode. Like I said, I love seeing the X-Wings. I love seeing Hera in action. I love seeing Chopper in action. I love being able to try to translate what he says too, because it almost sounds like actual talk. When they said that makes two of us, and he said, "Well, that makes three of us." You can definitely hear what he's saying. But overall for me, strong episode, but not the strongest that I've seen. I'm going to give it a high B, probably in the 88 range.
Okay. So, as the Scoundrels know, I am the common man. I reach out to the common scoundrel. I don't approach these things with such highbrow analysis as you, Jay, or you, Dennis. So, that being said, my bar is extremely low for entertainment with a lot of things. And therefore, I'm just going to say that I'm going to give this a 90 because I was entertained by the action. Okay. I was put off a little bit by all the, kind of things. And also the post-traumatic stress disorder that I suffered from seeing that scene with Kanan heading towards the wolf on the road. But other than that, I feel like playing their hand by adding the General Syndulla line in Rogue One really kind of made me not worried for her in this, Oh,
of course not.
Right.
Right. And I thought that, that kind of defeats, it's sort of like what you said with Han, Luke, and Leia earlier. We all know what's going to happen with them. I mean, it's Titanic, right? We know the iceberg's coming in a certain way. So, I mean, I wasn't so emotionally invested with her story. Maybe that's why I subconsciously kind of hung on to Mart. Because I was worried for him.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to give this a 90 as well. I've been hovering somewhere between an 88 and a 92 grade on this one. Despite my criticisms of the X-Wing introduction and what's going on with the wolves, I loved the blockade scene at the beginning of the episode. I felt like the way the X-Wings and the TIE fighters moved was very reminiscent of how we see them move in the special edition version of A New Hope at the Death Star battle scene. So I thought that was a great callback. All of Hera's scenes were fantastic. She was great in the X-Wing. I love that maneuver she made to ditch the TIE Defender, and then she took out the Star Destroyer, and then her fighting and her leadership on Lothal were spectacular, and it was great to get a Hera episode in that regard.
Oh yeah.
But again, just my criticisms of the wolves. The scene, I'm not so concerned about Hera. I agree with you on that, Taxus, but my concern was for Kanan in this episode. I had a real concern that this was going to be his fate, going back for Hera, and then something happening to him. When we last saw Kanan and Hera together, they had that kiss, and she said to him, "May the Force be with you." And my comment then was, I got that same feeling about Anakin and Obi-Wan. That's kind of the last time they saw each other as allies and friends. Not to suggest that someone's turning the dark side here, but they may not have a happy reunion ever again. They still might not. But anyway, so that's going to do it for our review of Rebel Assault. Scoundrels, we want to hear what you think about that. So send your thoughts to us at sqpod@retrozap.com.
Well, I have a free moment. I'll head over to the kitchen and grab some food now. Wow, this place is filling up. Bosk, you cold-blooded son of a bantha, good to see you. IG-88, good to see... Wait, why are you in line for food? Zuckus! Or are you Forlum? Never mind, happy Thanksgiving! Oh, it's Boba Fett! Let me guess, you're all here for Captain Solo? Don't talk at once. Well, I think I spotted him outside, but hey, do me a solid. No disintegrations, okay, buddy?
As you wish.
Okay, then. Where was that deep-fried sarlacc?
Put Captain Solo
Time to see if the Bantha boys are on. Welcome back to a very special Thanksgiving edition of the Chewy Challenge of the Chefs. Last time, we saw our challenger prep his battle plan to take on our resident celebrity chef. Just that phase of the competition was intense, and there was an unfortunate incident with the front row of our studio audience. But with their release form safely in hand, we wish them a speedy recovery. In this special episode, both contestants were tasked with making a unique and inspired take on a classic Thanksgiving dinner they would enjoy in their homes. This three-course meal should be creative, yet retain the feeling of a home-cooked feast. Now, let's meet everyone's favorite celebrity chef, Chewbacca! How are you feeling tonight, big guy? Fired up? What a ham, right, folks? Now let's welcome back our guest celebrity and Chewy's challenger, Ryder Waldron.
Woohoo! Yeah! Woo! Let's do this! Woohoo! Ooh, yeah!
Ryder.
Ooh, yeah.
You ready to go?
I sure am, Taxus. I'm really excited to share my love of cooking with the world.
You really impressed and piqued the curiosity of our judges, who are excited to taste what the both of you have prepared. Speaking of which, each of our judges have been paired with either chef based on their knowledge and experience with the style of cuisine that is their specialty. That being said, let's bring out the judges. On this show, it's guests and ladies first. All the way from the state of Ohio, whose motto is, the acronym for our commercial activity tax is CAT. And who doesn't like cat videos? Let's have a warm welcome for Jay Krebs.
Yes, Ryder, I'm so excited to see what you whipped up for me.
I'm sure it's nothing as spectacular as you could do.
Oh, you.
And coming from the state of Texas, right out of Dallas, the culinary capital of the South, who'd like to remind you, Dallas, we're growing more relevant every day. Dennis Keithley.
I'd like to go on record with an official protest.
Now, Dennis, you know you're the best to judge the Wookiee cuisine with all your experience. Also, you're contractually obligated. I mean, we did pop for a bucket that was not in the budget.
And I have a minor in Utah Cultural Studies.
That makes you the expert, Jay.
Why didn't I read page 1073?
You can say that again. Okay, Ryder, let's see your appetizer.
This is a take on the popular loaded potato skins that are always popular for the annual Hut Ball game. I use sweet potatoes for the base and top them with black beans, Cody hot cheese, and cilantro.
Well, the presentation is very festive, and the colors are appropriate to the season. But let's see how they taste. Ryder, that's exceptional. Excellent job.
Okay, Chewy. What do you have? Oh, you've made something similar, I see. Oh yes, a very sophisticated presentation of Kohun caviar served upon... Oh, very nice, and a fitting tribute to Kashyyyk, served upon thick pieces of worship tree bark. It's hard to come upon Kohun caviar that isn't processed. Oh, you went all the way to Induomoto to retrieve it fresh? That's quite a feat, given the high potency of the Kohun venom.
Well, no harm in getting more fiber.
The trick with unprocessed Kohun caviar is that the warmth of the mouth actually begins to activate the inert larva. But if eaten quickly, there's a much slimmer chance they'll survive after hatching long enough to bite the gourmet.
Wait, what?
Gives new meaning to fast food, huh, Dennis? We'll know if you're okay right about now. Do you feel numbness in your stomach?
No.
Okay, you should be fine then.
Should be.
Okay, time for the entree. Ryder, you're up.
I'm taking a slight detour and serving Cornish game hens with a cranberry stuffing.
Wow, that's very impressive, and great for single servings without worrying about having leftovers. Ryder, that's amazing. What's in the stuffing?
That's rye breadcrumbs, shiitake mushrooms, leek, garlic with a little bit of sage, parsley, mustard, thyme, and of course, cranberries.
Well, that's a winner in my book.
Another awesome job. Dennis, are you ready for your main course?
No.
Good. What do you have, Chewy? Yes, it does look yummy, Dennis. It's Dianoga steak. Ooh, a fine cut too. Not too close to the tentacles. It appears to be served with a Pepto-Bismol sauce infused with Imodium. That's thinking ahead, Chewy.
Okay, I guess I'll slice a piece. Why does it smell like a garbage can?
Oh, that's right. It's prepared in the ancient Paleo Wookiee style as Dianoga steak tartare. It retains the natural garbage odor, and is that a hint of a wastewater plant? Well played! It still lingers because cooking removes the wonderful natural aroma that gives it so much flavor. Dennis, how'd you know that's the Paleo Wookiee way of complimenting the chef? You really have done your cultural research.
I can't get the smell out. Or the taste.
Oh, well, here. Have some alcohol-based aftershave to help cover the smell. And I guess you can go ahead with dessert if Ryder doesn't mind waiting.
As long as Jay can wait to try it.
It'll be really hard, but go ahead.
Okay, Chewie. Let's see the dessert. Oh, Dennis, you're in for a really big treat. It's a down-home favorite. Bantha mud pies topped with a lightly tossed mixture of twigs and blood bugs for color.
Nope. No way. I am not eating that.
But wait, Dennis. It's not complete until it's served flambe.
No. I don't want anything to do with that.
Dennis, stop waving your arms. You're fanning the flames with your aftershave-covered hands.
Oh, put me out. Oh!
Should I present my dessert?
Sure, but you pretty much win.
Congratulations, Ryder. And don't worry about Dennis, folks. We have him heavily insured.
Please, someone at home. Oh, a doctor.
Yeah, Chewie. Get back to work, Dennis.
It's time for...
Silence, fools!
So, most of our listener feedback this past week was in response to Ryder's appearance on the last episode when we talked about Luke Skywalker. And most of those responses were also emojis. So, imagine thumbs up, smiley face, and some other things like that. Except one on Twitter, which reads, "That guy is awesome." And that just happens to be from @Ryder Waldron DDS. So,
doesn't ring a bell.
Who's that guy?
No.
Not that he's biased or anything, but it was fun having Ryder on the show.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
So also thanks to Roku Depot for reviewing not one, not two, but 3 episodes of the show last week.
Yeah.
And giving them all good ratings.
Yeah,
so
thanks,
that was
man.
pretty cool.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, so otherwise it's been a quiet week. That's it for Silence Fools. Scoundrels, we need a lot more emails in this. If you need a topic, I'll give you one. How excited are you for The Last Jedi? It's just over 3 weeks away. So emails with your thoughts and speculation to sqpod@retrozap.com and tell us how much you are freaking out right now, this moment.
Also predict what I'm going to wear to the premiere of The Last Jedi.
Please don't.
Oh, hey, Taxus. I have to say, this Thanksgiving celebration has been a huge success. I think we're about out of food. I can't believe how many people showed up.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure how many were here for the food and how many were here to take a swing at Han Solo.
Now that you mention it, I don't think I saw Darth Vader eat anything. Not that it would be pleasant to watch.
And wasn't that Lord Miller that stopped by earlier?
Ewoks!
Hey, little guys. Come on in.
You're so cute. And so many of them.
Oh, you're hungry? Sure. Just head on into the kitchen. Dennis will hook you up.
Wait, you can understand them?
Yeah. I learned how to speak Ewok with my iWalk language app.
As I was saying, what a success.
Admit it.
Who let them
You
in
liked
here?
the deep fried Sarlacc.
Oh, look.
Not so much.
It's really hard to get.
Next time,
but
get here sooner.
I must have done something wrong. Let me check the
was
recipe.
rude. Oh, wait.
Oh, I see.
Where are you taking me?
So admit it. You like the deep fried womp rat.
Jay? Taxus?
Taxus.
Little help.
Hey, where is Dennis?
Well, despite the fact that was almost what was on the menu, that was a good time. Well, before we go, what else do you both have for our Scoundrels to look forward to?
Yeah, that was a close call there, Dennis. Well, for me, I do have some reviews coming up for Core Worlds Couture on Coffee with Kenobi, but I have a really fun little shout out project that I want to tell everybody about, and that is that I am trying to collect as many patches as possible.
Patches?
And I want to patches, yeah, you
Patches?
know, like patches, yeah, and sew them onto a pair of jeans. It's kind of like the in vogue thing right now, but the idea is that one, I want to be a walking billboard for some fellow podcasters, fan organizations, that kind of thing. But I also want to give some shout outs and feature each one of these fan sites, organizations, and whatnot in some future blogs of mine. So kind of share the love in a fun way. So if anyone wants to be involved in that, or you know somebody that might like to be involved with that, you can message me on Twitter is the easiest way to do it, at Joyce Krebs.
Mm-hmm. Excellent way of dispatching that message, Jay. This week, the Geek Supreme with Jeff McGee, Scott Murray, and Regina Davis dropped, and it's our lucky listener episode, and a lucky listener won. Who? I'm not going to tell. You have to listen. It's on Assembly of Geeks Network. And this next week, Scott Murray's going to be at Wizard World at Austin. So we're going to take a hiatus this week, and so we won't have anything dropping after that. That's it for me.
Good timing. Yeah, good timing with Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I have some recent comic reviews on RetroZap, including Star Wars 38, really good, Dr. Afra 14, and Darth Vader number 8, also very good. So just check out the comics commentary section under articles to find them on RetroZap. My wife Beth and I released our review of the mid-season finale for Star Trek Discovery on Warp Trails recently. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of thoughts on that one. So that's on the RetroZap podcast feed as an exclusive. So you just need to go to iTunes or Stitcher or whatever and just look for that RetroZap all-inclusive feed.
Awesome.
Yeah. Scoundrels, thank you for listening and your support. If you've enjoyed the show, this has been Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels, and we would love a review wherever you listen to your podcast, especially iTunes, which is also known as Apple Podcasts. I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, but did you know you can write a podcast review directly from Apple's podcast app now? Well, you can, and if that is your podcatcher, it is easier than ever to leave a review. On the other hand, if you didn't care for this, then we request you not feed us to the Ewoks. I'm looking at you, Taxus and Jay.
Hey.
In all seriousness, we appreciate it anytime you share our show posts on Twitter and Facebook. Please let others know you're listening. Thanks to all of our dedicated scoundrels that take the time to share our shows with others.
And we are on social media. Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at @SCubedPod, and liked on Facebook, where we are facebook.com/SCubedPod. If you want to follow Darth Taxus on Twitter, he is at Darth Taxus. Mm-hmm. Dennis is at DJKVER2, and I am at Joyce Krebs. And in addition to social media, you can reach us by email at scubedpod@retrozap.com. We would love to hear what you want out of the new Star Wars trilogy, or what you thought of the mid-season finale of Rebels. But if you have anything else that is on your mind, Star Wars related or not, then let us know. Emails, really good tweets, and iTunes reviews end up in Silence Fools. Again, our email address is scubedpod@retrozap.com.
And as always, we are honored to be part of the retrozap.com podcast network. Did you know that RetroZap is home to 21 podcasts? That's insane! Nobody predicted that in the 1950s. Please check out RetroZap for other great shows, including but not limited to The ArgCast, Classic Marvel Comics, Green Justice, The Sandcrawler, and Trade Federation. Also be sure to check out our Scoundrels t-shirts on TeePublic. Just go to tpublic.com/user/SQPod, or just search for us on the site. Why not get some to use as decorative placemats this Thanksgiving?
Ooh, good crafty idea.
And special thanks to Aaron Lay for our show logos, to James Volpe, the Sky Geek, for our The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly show logo.
Also special thanks to Ryder Waldron DDS for coming back on as a Scoundrels player.
Awesome. And here is our disclaimer. Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels is not endorsed, affiliated with, or sponsored by Lucasfilm Limited and or Disney. This show is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All characters, music, and sounds are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. All else is the intellectual property of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels unless otherwise indicated.
Okay, happy Thanksgiving. It's been a great time. Any final thoughts?
Well, I didn't know the Sith were so rooted in traditions. Are you having any family for dinner?
I wanted to, but the supermarket was all out of families.
Oh.
Yeah. That's going to do it for episode 42 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. As always, thanks for listening and joining us this week. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and may the Force be with you.
I was really looking forward to leftovers, too. Go inside the room, kitty.